to the RunRX podcast, where we talk about all things running. As many runners know, it's 90% mental. So join Coach Valerie and Coach Caroline as we go through the mental side of running. Hi, and welcome to Tough Love Tuesdays. This is Coach Caroline, and we've added this extra podcast in to help you get over some of the thoughts that you might be having about your running. So I post a long form sort of blog post in our membership every Tuesday. And a lot of our members, as well as a lot of our listeners and a lot of the people that follow RunRX, are trying to get going on this without being in the membership. And that's totally okay. We have a ton of free content. We're really trying to help impact your life without having to be in the membership. But if you want to be in the membership and you want to be coached live, we'd love to have you. So what we're going to do is start this Tough Love Tuesday series, and I'm going to start it with one that I sent out pretty much right off the bat at the beginning of the year. It was about trusting the process. So when you come into the membership, or actually when you start anything new, let's back this out a little bit. When you are starting to walk as a baby, the baby doesn't just suddenly get up and go, right? The baby has to roll over a little bit, and it rolls on its back and then rolls on its stomach, right? There's a process to it. So what we are finding is that when people come into the membership, we need you to really hyper-focus for those first 3 weeks. And that first week is truly just about ball of foot hops and holding pose. And you're probably thinking, wait a second, I need to just hold pose for a week? And I hate to tell you this, but yeah. I asked Valerie straight out, like, how would you teach me? And I am starting over again with her. So I said, how would you teach me? How would you get me started? And you really need to learn to hold the pose. So for that first week, we ask you just to kind of hold the pose, right? And I give the analogy of watching, I'm going to date myself here, The Karate Kid. And when Daniel had to stand on the post on the edge of the ocean, and he had to stand on the post and hold the crane, right? If you recall, you can't just do that. You can't just hold that. He couldn't change his support until he had strengthened his balance, till he had strengthened his core, till he had learned the perception of where that pole was. And that's just a fantastic analogy within martial arts of why we need to really slow you down and have you work on just holding the pose for that first week. Now, we get it. Can be boring. I'll be honest. I could hold pose at my stand-up desk most of the day and possibly do pretty well at it by checking in here and there. So we do add a little bit more. We add some ball of foot hops. How do you ball of foot hop, right? So how do you make sure that you're not pushing off the ground? How do you make sure that you're not jumping? How do you make sure that you're not landing? If you're doing ball of foot hops for maybe 3 minutes and your feet hurt, that's an indication that you're slamming the ground. You're actually booming, okay? And you want to listen for that sound. You want to think up. You want to think light. You want to feel as though there is a band around your hips, around your center of mass that is literally pulling you up, like you're on one of those trampolines, right, with the bungee cords. You want to kind of feel like that, and you want to just think up. And then as you're doing it, listen to your feet. Listen to how it's hitting the ground. Is it a very light tap, or is it boom, 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 right? Okay, so for this Tough Love, we're going to talk about the process. So for the first week, if you're just kind of getting back into it, maybe you're going into her Ask Me Anything on Wednesdays, maybe you're listening to our podcast on Fridays, maybe you've decided to start at day one of the 30-day boot camp, or what we call the 30-day reboot in YouTube. Take this first week and just focus on holding pose. Holding pose on each leg. Make sure your main leg, your standing leg, is slightly bent. And if you need to, go out and search some pictures of Daniel on Karate Kid doing the crane pose, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about there. And I hope to hear from you in the group, and I hope to see you on our Ask Me Anythings. And of course, I hope you'll join us next week. Thank you for joining us on the RunRX podcast. If you'd like to know more, join us at www.runrx.fit. And if you have additional questions that you'd like answered on the podcast, email us at support@runrx.fit.